Let's try it this way. Can everybody hear me now? How about it? Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, good. Chris says he can hear me. We're going to go ahead and jump in. We've got a lot to get to today, and so I don't want to waste any time. Let's start off with the fuel surcharge for Swift this week, and then I'll kind of explain to you what's going on. So the fuel surcharge, the average price of diesel fuel this week was 452.4 per gallon, and last week it was 460.4. So it's gone down. It's gone down about 8 cents a gallon, and the fuel surcharge this week is 54.6 cents. Last week it was 56.1, so it's gone down. And the West Coast fuel surcharge has remained the same at 8 cents a gallon. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the ticker down below so that you guys can read that if you're late to the party or whatever. Let's get that back up. There's a lot of things we need to discuss today. I had guests scheduled for tonight, and I went ahead and rescheduled them because there was just so much stuff we needed to cover. First of all, channel news. There's going to be a new show coming out Thursday night. It's going to be called In Case You Missed It. And basically, what I was doing is I was going on Jason's show, The Trucker's Coach, on Wednesday nights, and then I was rebroadcasting it on my channel on Thursdays. Instead, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to come out. I'll talk about the show from the night before and talk about other news of the week that maybe we discussed in videos or whatever like that. So y'all join me. It's also going to be at 5 p.m. Central Time. I also have a Trucker Todd TikTok now. Admittedly, I didn't want to do that, but one of the driver advisory boards I sit on for another company really wanted me to get a TikTok. So admittedly, there's not a lot of content on there, but join me on TikTok and look for comment in the coming weeks. Also, somebody noticed I'm not in my truck. I've got a doctor's appointment tomorrow morning at 9:45, so I'm at home for a doctor's appointment, and then I'll be back out on the road. Let's talk about some other things that we needed to get covered this week. I got a lot to get to today, and I want to get through it quickly so that I can take some of your questions. Let's talk about some general news around the trucking industry. I don't know if you've heard these things, and we're just going to kind of rapid fire go through them because, like I say, we've got a lot to get to tonight. And so the first thing that I announced earlier this week, the annual DOT Blitz that they do is coming out May 16th through the 18th, and they're going to be focusing on brakes this year. So whatever you do, make sure your brakes are in adjustment. Stop at one of these truck stops, get one of the free mid-trip inspections, and make sure that you're ready to go for that. Also, there was 3 people were hurt after a truck had runaway tires. I guess a couple of tires come off of a truck and bounced across the interstate highway Friday morning at around 6:25 a.m. This was in Kansas City, Kansas, around I-35 and 7th Street. Police were called for a 6-vehicle incident. It was a 2015 Kenworth driven by Ira Chandler. Going north, he lost 2 tires that hit 5 vehicles. 3 people were sent to the hospital with minor injuries. Also, on January 23rd, out in California, of all places, a dump truck falls in a sinkhole after ignoring a road closure sign. That was on Monday morning, of course. Authorities, when they got there, found the road closure sign under the dump truck. So, of all the places to have a mishap, California he's going to be looking at some severe fines, I can imagine. And says the driver was not hurt. And they talked about having a lot of calls the day before for flooding, mudslides, sinkholes, and other things like that between Carneal Road and Alameda County. And so you guys might remember, I was out there a couple of weeks ago and they had a bunch of bad weather, and I ended up coming back to Texas because I was afraid I was going to get stuck out there. Also, one last story, and I got most of these from CDL Life if you want to check these stories out. Truck driver arrested on January 20th for 2 counts of manslaughter after he jackknifed, and it resulted in the death of 2 people. That was in Harlingen, Texas. Juan Jose Bazaldua Sanchez. I know I butchered his name. 3 others were also taken to the hospital. His bond is $68,000. Now, I'm not wanting to discount what happened to the people that are involved in this, but I just kept thinking if the roles were reversed and maybe it was a car that slid out of control and a truck hit them, what would they say? Need to increase following distance, should have been going slower, maybe you were distracted, things like that. So I have no doubt they're going to rake this driver over the coals, but I hope they don't go after him too hard. Yeah, I agree with Kevin. I don't believe this should be a murder charge. I don't know. Maybe there's some negligent driving charge or something like that they can do. But you can bet right now there's somebody going through this guy's cell phone, seeing if he was texting, seeing if he was watching videos while he was driving, things like that, looking for something to get this guy on. Also, another big story we need to talk about from this week is Swift kind of made the news for a couple of reasons. The Asian Mai mother trucker and trucker's coach both went to Phoenix. Asian Mai was over at the night terminal. Trucker's coach was over at the Swift terminal. They got to talk to several bigwigs about autonomous trucks, and I did a video about autonomous trucks. Now, the takeaway from this is that Swift says you still, even with the technology they're looking at, you'd still have to have both hands on the wheel, and that it would be a slow process over the next 20 years, and that they're not looking to replace drivers anytime soon. I did a video where I compared it to living on Mars. I've been hearing my whole lifetime that one day we're going to live on Mars, and maybe we will, maybe we won't, but we don't have the technology to do it right now. Even if they made a federal law, we all got to move to Mars. We don't have the technology to get us there yet. And same is true with these autonomous trucks. We're probably looking at 30 or 40 years before you could do anything really substantially driverless. There's going to need to be a driver in the truck. And you guys might remember Uber had a taxi program they were trying to do driverless out in California, and it failed miserably to where they abandoned the program altogether. Now, going back to me being at home, and I'll get back to the comments here in just a minute. I'm just trying to get through all this stuff real quick so that we can talk. I drove through some nasty stuff coming home. I came across Highway 82 from Fort Worth to Lubbock, and it was mostly rain, but there was some patchy ice. There was some slick spots. So I'm going to be home. I'm not sure for how many days. I put in the computer till Monday, but I don't intend to stay here that long. I just did that so the planners wouldn't plan me on something, and I could work on the load board a little more and see how it's going. Speaking of load board, yes, I did get on it this past week, and no, I have not got to use it yet. They were trying to get me home for this doctor's appointment, and so they were stacking me several loads at a time because it takes some real effort to get me to Lubbock. Also, let's talk about the truck for a second. We're almost to the end of this, and then we can jump right into your questions. The truck, as you know, when I got the windshield put in, something happened to the little rain sensing camera, and the intermittent wipers weren't working. And also, you might have seen the first Tuesday Trucker Talk video I did. I actually fell out of the seat. The seat broke during the video, and we got the seat fixed. We couldn't get the part. It's that pressure valve in the seat. And so what we did is we swapped the driver and passenger seat. They're identical. And now I've got a good seat. And they had to replace a little sensor up in the windshield that was like $150. And so the truck is in great shape now. I'm going to be having to get an oil change soon. But overall, this 2022 Freightliner has been a great truck. Couldn't ask for better. I know some people complain about the ride in a Freightliner, but to this point, it's rode fine to me. It's been a good truck, and so I'm really happy with it. Now, I also did a video this week, the 4 pros and cons of doing a lease purchase, and we can certainly talk about that today if that's something that you guys want to talk about. And then I don't want to give away any upcoming guests because what happens is, well, I'll give you an example. Even when I came out with Tuesday Trucker Talk, the same day, a few hours later, another YouTuber came out with Trucker Talk. And so I don't want to be copied, but I've got a lot of great guests coming up. And I'm really excited for the Thursday video that we're going to be doing called In Case You Missed It. I really hope you guys will join me for that. Give this video a thumbs up while you're here. That really helps me a lot. From what I can see, only 2 people have done that so far. But your thumbs up will really help a lot. And trust me when I tell you, some questions that I haven't been able to answer to this point that I've ran away from, I'm getting guests on in the coming weeks that are qualified to answer your questions. And I'm even setting it up to where some of them are going to be recurring guests, where they'll show up once a month and answer your questions. Now, without any more of this for now, let's jump into some of the comments. I'm going to scroll back up to the beginning and see what I missed. Looks like Joe Adams was the first one here today. Glad to have you. And Dale's here. Fubar Gamer, the mayor. Good to see you, Mayor. And let's see who else. Chris is here. And so we're glad Chris is here. Craig's here. He wanted a wrench. He's got one. Bobby Martin. Steve ND. Good to see all y'all here. Thank you for coming in. Dwayne, Bull of the Woods, Indulgent. Let's see who else. I already answered Kevin's question. Yeah, Terry, I got that handled this evening. And I'm sorry it took so long, but I just want to say to everybody out here, and maybe I can put that up on the deal where see it. Let's go back up a little. You guys are fast on the comments. There it is. Hey man, thanks recruiting reached out to me, going to be coming over. Thanks, man. Yeah, if any of you guys are having trouble reaching recruiting, for some reason after New Year's, the phones blew up and they're getting overwhelmed with calls. If for some chance you try to contact recruiting either on the company side or the owner-operator side and you can't get someone, let me know. Let me help you. Shoot me an email. My email's in the little ticker at the bottom of the screen, and I'll get involved and try to help somebody get in contact with you and get you paired up with somebody. While Michelle is usually the one I worked with, I do have a couple others that I work with from time to time, especially if she's on vacation or things like that. And I'll get you with somebody good that I trust that'll be honest with you and get you through the process. Hello, Joe Wentz. By the way, if you guys are music fans, check out Joe Wentz's channel. He's pretty good on a guitar. And let's see. Sam said probably wearing flip flops too. No, I'm not wearing flip flops. I still got my tennis shoes on. And John says, "Hey Todd." And I think I've already answered Kevin. Yeah, I agree. It shouldn't be a murder charge for that guy that jackknifed. He was probably going too fast. He could have been distracted, but we're supposed to be aware on the road, and I would be equally as curious what the cars were doing behind him that hit him. And I'm not saying that that's right, but I just hate to see a man's life ruined when he slid off the road. And I realize those families' lives are ruined by the deaths, but it's accidents happen. They're not on purpose. That's why we call them accidents. And it's a shame that this had to go down like this, and hopefully he'll get a good lawyer and this will get reduced. I definitely think he should be fined. I definitely think maybe even probation, but I think jail time and murder charges is a little extreme. All right, let's see what we got here. Eduardo Soto, thanks for all the information you provide. Yes, sir. Thank you for coming and watching. And thanks for commenting. That helps me out. These videos are only as good as y'all's comments. So when you ask me questions, when you email me requesting certain guests, things like that, and that makes the channel better, and we all learn from it. And I thank you for that. Asphalt Jungle says, peace. I hope he's still with us, not taking off. Let's see. Craig says, do you think there's a chance of having the CEO of Swift on? I'll tell you this. Let me get a drink of water real quick. Probably not, and I'll tell you why. The CEO recently did an interview with Mother Trucker Asian Mai, and he's got well over 100,000 subscribers. You're more likely going to see at the level I'm at that I could probably get some vice presidents and things like that on. But I would say this, never say never. The more you guys watch, the more you guys subscribe, the more you guys share these videos, the better that chance is going to be. You can be certain that I'm definitely working on it. And if I can make that happen for you guys, I would love to do that. I've got a lot of questions I want to ask, and I'm sure you guys got a lot of questions too. And so I'm definitely working on that behind the scenes. Right now, I've got some people pretty high up the ladder, but I'm not quite to the CEO yet. And but you never know. If I get those that are right under him and the interviews go well, then he might choose to come on at a later date, and we'll definitely try to do that. Okay, we got another good question here. Bobby Martin, after going lease, do you wish you would have went MRP? In my particular case, no. I'll tell you why. I do really, really good here, and so I think I can pay the truck off. Trucker's Coach came out with a video earlier today saying he had an article that they're expecting used truck prices to drop drastically. So at some point it might make sense, because this is a walk-away lease, for me to turn this truck in, purchase one on my own, and lease it back to Swift. But either if truck prices don't fall like that article suggested, then I think I'd like to keep this truck. And I'll tell you why. In an MRP lease, you're still paying 20% of the repairs that are covered. And that's a key thing in warranties. Anybody that's ever worked in a shop knows that the devil's in the details with a warranty. And while I like the MRP lease, there's always a chance that something wouldn't be covered. And even if it is, you're paying 7 cents a mile for the warranty and 20% of the repair. And on my deal here, I'm going to be under factory warranty for the length of the lease. And so I like the situation I'm in. I like the truck I'm in. And I like not breaking down. I like the guys that, you know, they show their MRP, and then they've broke down a lot. Let's be honest. This isn't a knock on any of the other guys doing an MRP, but some of the famous YouTuber guys that are doing MRP leases, they've broke down multiple times, and you haven't seen me broke down at all. And oftentimes in trucking, what bankrupts you isn't the repair itself, it's the downtime. And so I almost did an MRP, and I wouldn't think bad of anybody that did an MRP, but things just worked out where I got a really good truck in a really good situation. And I'm going to stay in this truck until I either pay it off or I go out and buy one on my own. And that's going to depend solely on what the market does. And Swift knows that. I mentioned that to one of the vice presidents, and he thought it was wise on my part. So I'm not revealing any trade secrets here or anything like that. Mario says, how do I make money? That is, I've got a ton of videos on that, but the short answer is you have to make more than you spend. Your revenue has to be greater than your expenses. And I know that sounds like I'm being smart aleck with you, and I'm not really trying to. You can email me and we'll look at the details of your situation specifically. My email's in the ticker below, truckertodd806@gmail.com. I'd be happy to go over your settlements with you and figure out where your money's going. Normally, it is fuel. People aren't fueling correctly, things like that. But I'd be happy to look at it with you. If you're not making $2,000 to $3,000 a week here at Swift, take home, something's wrong. And we definitely need to look at it and see what it is. And I'll be happy to help you with that. I probably won't be able to do it here because you're going to have to show me a bunch of personal information that you don't want revealed here. But I'd be happy to help you with that if you want to email me. Let's see who else we got here tonight. Get Chris Doan from Flatbed out of Phoenix. He's over the flatbed fleet. Yeah, there's actually, I'm trying to get flatbed and reefer in here. Admittedly, I don't know a lot about it, but I would like to get some of those guys on here and learn some things for my benefit for when you guys ask. And also, you guys will ask questions that I can't even think of because I'll just tell you straight up, you know more about flatbed than me. A guy here that I really, really enjoy, Cash is King Trucking. I love his channel. If you guys have not checked out Cash is King Trucking, I believe he runs a reefer I believe he's in Minnesota, and he's got a lot of great information, runs the spot market, and he mixes a little humor with it. I wish I had his editing skills because he always makes the coolest thumbnails. And so if you guys have not checked out Cash is King Trucking, please, my tongue got away from me. Please check him out. And he's another one I'd like to have on this show at one time because I think he's got a lot of great information, and I think he could help a lot of people. Now, for those that don't know, Chris Bollinger has a 2022 Freightliner, very similar to mine, and he loves it. We were recently on the phone and talking about what reliable, efficient truck it's been so far. I know some of the other year models, they've had some reliability issues, and but these 2022s, for some reason, they hit the nail on the head, and they seem to be a really good truck. Yeah, Mario, I hope you'll contact me through my email, because if you're not taking home that kind of money like we talked about a minute ago, I really want to help you and see if we can get you there. And even if you're not at Swift, if you're at another company, the same principles apply, and I think you can be successful just about anywhere. Obviously, there's a few lease companies where you're going to lose your tail and you're destined to fail. But for the most part, you can do really good. It is a little tougher right now with what's going on in the world, but definitely not impossible. All right, Craig says, "What do you listen to while driving? Podcasts, music, etc." When I get to listen to stuff, and I spend a lot of the day on the phone, mentoring guys and things like that. But I have Spotify with a little over 1,100 songs on there. Every kind of music you could think of, from Christian to country to 80s to heavy metal, even some rap on there. And so it's a diverse selection. I also have Audible, and I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I've done several on how to have a successful YouTube channel. My favorite author is John Grisham, and I listen to a lot of his books as well. But the problem is that I take so many calls in a day that I really just don't get an opportunity very often. But that's the truth about that. And I like Casey Phillips on Road Dog. I don't get to listen to him a lot because they seem to have got sponsored by a lot of big companies, and some of them I wouldn't recommend. So I don't get to listen to them as much as I might like to. But anyway, we're going to keep it going here.
I didn't understand that.
Somehow I triggered my phone. All right, let's see here. How are the iron services fuel discounts from Swift? Very spotty, to be honest with you. If you can't get your own fuel card, then you can do okay with the Swift discount at the terminals. The iron services shops at the terminals are great, but I typically don't fuel at the terminals. I have the ES Advantage fuel card, and the link's in the description if any of you guys want to find out about it. But they when I went to Phoenix, they were about, I'd say $1 a gallon cheaper than any other of the truck stops that was around there. But with that ES Advantage card, I can even beat what the terminal prices are. The big advantage to the terminal, especially if you go to a city like Denver, the Denver terminal is crowded, but you can usually still get parking in there. And if you are an outside carrier, then a lot of times it's a struggle to find parking when you're in Denver or one of the crowded areas. So sometimes I'll park at the terminals. I can get a good clean shower. They've got food in there. Some of them even have restaurants. And so I do that pretty often. Let's see. I hope I answered your question. How long is your lease for? So on a brand new truck, your lease is for 4 years. Mine had 28,000 miles on it. So it was about 9 weeks old. So my lease was 4 years minus 9 weeks. They don't do like a lot of these companies do and re-up the lease, like do a 3-year lease. And then if the guy lasts 6 months and quits, then they release it again for 3 years. They don't do that. It's just a 4-year lease with a balloon payment at the end. If you get to the end and you've done the maintenance, they will let you roll it into an MRP if you can't afford the balloon payment. But I don't think that's going to be a problem for me. I'm setting up the savings and everything for that. And so I think I'll be able to pay that balloon payment in at the end, but you can roll it into an MRP as long as you're current on your maintenance. And if you get to the MRP and you still don't have your balloon payment, which I don't know why you wouldn't at that point, then they will finance the balloon payment out. So eventually you're going to get a title. How quickly is going to depend on you. And let's see who's next on the. You're welcome, Cash is King. I'm in it. Let's see who we got next. Sorry, it's taking a second to load. I love my 2019 Freightliner. Good truck so far. That's good. I went to Greer, South Carolina and looked at the MRP trucks right after I'd got my Freightliner and did a video about several of the trucks. And I was impressed at how refurbished they were and nice they were. These trucks are 3 years old, but they're not junk by any means. And so I would encourage you to check those trucks out. And I think you'll be impressed if you do. They're not a bad option for sure. Got a troll we got to take care of. I don't know where my moderators are tonight. Yeah, Chris Bollinger says, yes, baby. You can get that card. Just costs $100 to get started. And so it's definitely worth having. And you'll save a lot of money with it for sure. Let's see who else we got here. Franco says, do they have any brand new T680s for lease? So here's what I've been told about the T680s. I've been told they're extremely difficult to get right now until about midsummer. So I'm not going to tell you for sure, no, you can't have one, but I can tell you that it's really unlikely that you're going to get a brand new one right now. Maybe later this year. And even then, it really depends on what goes on in the market and the supply chain. It's possible, but it's not likely. What I would recommend is contacting Michelle, because inventory changes daily. I mean, trucks go quick. And what you might want to do is, if that's your heart's desire to get a new truck, is maybe start off in one, drive it for 6 months or a year, and get on a waiting list to get a new one. They will allow you to trade up after you've been here a little while, and Michelle can go over that with you and help you make the decision about what to do truck wise. So we're at about the 32-minute mark. What else would you guys like to discuss tonight? I didn't talk about the load board a whole lot. We can go into that. This is a question I get a lot. Let's bring it up and answer it. So yes, every single lease at Swift is a walk-away lease. And they do refund your escrow. And depending on your lease, you either get all of your maintenance or most of your maintenance back. It really depends, minus the refurbish fees, like if they have to clean it, if they have to change the oil, if they have to replace a tire or anything like that, if you damage the body. But assuming you didn't damage the truck in any way, yes, it's a walk-away lease. You'd get your escrow back. You'd get your maintenance back. Now, every lease contract I've ever seen says after 45 days. So if you, I gotta get another drink of water. I got cotton mouth tonight. Every lease I've seen, it takes about 45 days to get that money back. And so just know you're not going to get it on your final check. It's going to come in a later check later on. Doesn't mean it'll take 45 days, but in your contract, every lease I've ever seen, it says they've got 45 days to give it back to you. So this is a great question. How's the fuel mileage been? So in the beginning, it was great. I was getting, and I was pulling mixed loads. The last time I ran it, I was getting 9.4. I can tell you point blank, the last 2 weeks, it's been terrible. And I say terrible, it's dropped probably 30 or 40%. So I'm not getting nowhere near what I was. I've heard there's a lot of reasons for that winter fuel blends don't do as good. Obviously, you're idling more in the wintertime. You're dealing with more adverse weather conditions, things like that. So that's been kind of it. I'm not thinking there's anything mechanical wrong with the truck. I'm coming up on 35,000 miles since my last oil change. and I'll change it again. And hopefully the new filters and everything will help it come back up. But like this week, for example, I drove 68 all week because I was trying to get back to town for this doctor's appointment. And I just made it here by the hair of my chin. It's tomorrow morning. And so when I go out, I'll be slowing back down. And I expect it to jump back up in the high 8s, low 9s. Swift has a lot of light loads here, but here lately it seems like I've pulled a lot of heavy ones. And in the winter, I don't mind it because it's a little safer on the highways. Let's see who we got now. Okay, John says, how do you fuel correctly? That's a good question to get me in a lot of trouble. So I would tell you that every company you're at, your strategy is going to be a little different. So at Swift, technically the pay period ends on Tuesday, but if you scan your trip Wednesday, they'll usually get it on there. They just don't guarantee it. So your last trip that you deliver either Tuesday or Wednesday, you want to be around a quarter of a tank. Also, you want to, let me think how to say this. You want to think strategically about fueling. For example, if you're going into an expensive state, you want to fuel prior to that to get in and out of that state. Now, I fuel a lot of different ways, and I've shared this. This isn't any secret. There's videos about it. I use an app called the Fuel Book. I use Mudflap, and my code for Mudflap's down in the description below also. You get, I believe it's $10 off your first fill up or something. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. And so you guys check out Mudflap. So Fuel Book, Mudflap. I also check the terminal. They send us a Zonar message every day that says what the prices are at all the terminals for the next day. And then I use that ES Advantage card. And I make smart fueling decisions. It's really hard to explain it in this format how I do it, but I know you've got my phone number, and if you want to try to call me at some point, I'll try to help you get better about fueling. Let's see. Chris says that he is getting 8 miles per gallon. I don't know how fast Chris is running, or if he has a pet and he's having to idle a little more. I would say 8 miles a gallon in the wintertime is not terrible. But if you want to try to get a little better, try slowing down just a little and seeing if it makes a difference. If it don't, you can always speed back up. My good friend 38M is here. Glad you're here tonight. I was wondering if he's going to make an appearance. Let's see here. Frank says, I wish Swift would offer an APU option for the trucks. So here's what I can tell you about that. They actually did a cost-benefit analysis recently and had a couple of trucks with APUs. And they found that, because some of them APUs are like $14,000. And I know if you watch Cash is King, he kind of made a homemade one that he's really happy with that's a lot cheaper. But they didn't find any real benefit to it. By the time you spend the $14,000 and everything, they didn't find much advantage over the OptiIdle system. Now, the other thing you have to consider is a lot of these trucks, Swift only has like 1,800 owner operators. The rest are company drivers. So if they go mass installing APUs and these company drivers don't take care of them or don't maintenance them properly or things like that, then they're left holding the bag. What I would like to see Swift do, and I've told them this isn't no new news. I'd like to see them offered as an option to owner operators. Maybe your truck payments, $50 a week higher or whatever, and you have an APU included that you pay off over time or something like that. A lot of companies do something similar to that. And so that's what I hope they'll do in the future. And I've definitely suggested that to them. and I'll suggest it to him again when I'm in Phoenix. All right, let's go to the next one. 38M, that's right. You started Swift this week. I just had a pretty good conversation with him earlier in the week. Him and his wife started this week, and that's a picture of their truck right there. They actually already had their own truck and leased it on to Swift, and they were able to provide me with a lot of really good information about what happens if you already have your own truck when you come to Swift. So if you ask me questions about that, I'll be regurgitating what they told me. But yeah, I hope they're doing well, and I look forward to receiving updates from them in the future. Let's see what we got here. So Chris says he runs 68 to 70 everywhere he goes. Yeah, and again, if you're happy where you're at with the income you're making, then keep doing it. But if you start noticing things get a little tight, try slowing down, 5 miles an hour or something. See how much of a difference it makes in your pay. I know I had one guy that I asked him to do it, and he tried it for a week, and he called me back, and his check had gone up $900. And granted, that may not all be from slowing down. He may have bought his fuel better that week too, and so that's something to consider. But I always tell people, run whatever speed you want to, and then if you're not happy, try tweaking a few things. Try buying your fuel differently. Try running differently and see if it makes a difference. And if it don't, you can always go back to your old way. Oh no, 38M says they ended up not getting to use their Volvo and they had to get an MRP truck. What happened with the Volvo? I was real excited to see how that worked out for you. And Steve says, how is 404 Dave doing? Here's the truth. I haven't talked to 404 Dave in a couple of months at least. And I sent him a text message. I haven't heard back from him. But the people I've heard from that have talked to him have said he's doing very well here, that he's happy and doing well. So to the best of my knowledge, 404 Dave is doing well. And I'd really like to talk to him. If any of you guys talk to him, because he's got a lot of good information that he could pass on to other drivers and help other people. And I hope at some point he'll start making videos again and sharing his information and what his keys to success are. And who knows, I might have him as a guest on here at some point if he'd like to do that. And while we're on that subject, I want to bring up another thing. Because I'm at home, I don't know if I'll be on Coach's show tomorrow night or not. I'm going to try, but I can't guarantee it. I just don't want you guys thinking there's any bad blood or anything there if I can't make it. I've already talked to Coach about it, told him I might not be there. And he said that's fine, that he'll be happy to have me anytime I can come on. I want to say this too while we're talking about Coach. He's been really great to work with in the videos that we've done together, and we've got a lot of positive feedback from the viewers. As you guys know, Coach and I don't agree on everything, like cameras and insurance and things like that, but we're able to have a good debate, and Swift is a fan of it because we've been able to keep it respectful, and it seems like the viewers are a fan of it too. We get a lot of views when we do those, and so we're going to keep doing it as long as y'all enjoy it and as long as we can. So it says 38M got him a 2019. Let me get up here. We'll bring him up. Crap, my deal moved on me. Don't you love technology? Got him a 2019 Kenworth T680. That's actually what my original truck was going to be. What color did you select? Chris says he runs over 3,500 miles a week. So here's what I would tell you about that. if you were willing to slow down. And I'm not suggesting that you should, because you're making the kind of money you want to make. But if you were willing to slow down, you might only run 3,000 or 3,200 miles a week, but you might make the same money or more money, and that's less wear and tear on your truck. And so, again, I know there's guys that'll fight you tooth and nail, and I'm not going to do that. You can run whatever speed you're wanting to, but you can make more money and wear your truck out slower if you went a little bit slower. And it's just something to consider in the future. 38M says his wife couldn't do a manual transmission. Oh, that sucks. So what are you guys going to do with your Volvo? I'm going to probably give you a call tomorrow because I want to talk to you some more about that. So I'm pretty sure this was a troll comment, but we'll go ahead and address it. Wolf said running 35, really working good. So I've said before that you have to do a cost benefit analysis, because this going slow all the time isn't necessarily the right answer either. You know, if 65 is safe, then 60 should be safer. And if 60 is safe, then 55 should be even safer. And at some point, you get to a point where it's not safe. Well, going 5 miles an hour would be really, really safe, because even if you hit something, there wouldn't be any damage. But at 5 miles an hour, it'd take a month to get product across the country. So obviously, you have to use a little common sense. And what I've found with my viewership is that most of the people watching are really, really smart, and they have common sense. Obviously, there's an extreme there. If you're doing 55 and you notice it's hurting your business, maybe speeding up 5 miles an hour is a good idea, or something like that. Each truck has its own individual sweet spot, and when you find that sweet spot, then you're going to have the best success with your truck. So, again, it's each their own. Do what you want to do, but that's just my recommendation, what's working for me. I get a lot of guys that say they want to make what I make, but they're not willing to do what I do. And I run between 60 and 62 when I can. But as I shared with you this week, I didn't do that. I ran 68 all week. And sometimes I ran 70 with the pedal to the floor because I had to go. I had tight loads that had to be there because I was trying to get home. All right, let's see what's next. Are you able to thoroughly look over the MRP trucks and look into a different one if you're not satisfied? Example, stinks of cigarettes, especially if a non-smoker. That's one of the main issues with the use. Yeah. As a matter of fact, and I've said this in videos, thoroughly look that truck over, because anything you find wrong in the first 30 days, they're going to fix for you at no cost to you. Well, if you find it at the yard, they're going to fix it quickly, either right then or the next morning. If you just hop in it and, I got to move freight, and you take off down the road and you find something the next day or two, then you're going to have to go to a truck stop or a dealership or another terminal and get in line. And then who knows how long it's going to take to get fixed. So for time constraints, I would encourage you to look that truck over thoroughly before you sign anything, or even after you sign it. Continue looking it over. Climb all over that truck. And for goodness sake, whatever you do, read your contract. Good Lord, I can't believe how many questions I answer that people never even looked at their contract, and they don't even have a copy of it. I printed mine out that day. I have a copy on my phone. I can go to it at any time. For example, I know the maintenance requirements are on the second to the last page of my contract. Every time I get a service done, I pull that page out, look over everything, make sure I've covered all the services that are due on that truck. I had several people ask me about hazmat, how it pays. I've had all kinds of questions. How much do extra stops pay? And what you got to realize is there's multiple different contracts here at Swift. And I can tell you what my contract says, but I can't necessarily tell you what your contract says. So you guys really need to read your contract, look your truck over. I realize it's going to take you an hour or two, but it's going to save you time in the long run. These shops at Swift are really, really good, but they're humans. They might miss something. My truck had 28,000 miles on it, and the driver's seat wouldn't slide. But since I caught it at the terminal, they were able to fix it real quick. All right, let's see what's next. 38M says he was able to look his truck over. Yeah, I would say that if you're not able to look your truck over, call me, call your recruiter, and tell them. But I can't think of any situation where you wouldn't be able to look your truck over. Why? This is good. For those that don't know, 38M and his wife are hilarious. And if you ever get the opportunity to meet them, they'll make you laugh. He said it's gold and wife named her Gold Digger. That's hilarious. My name is Nobody. Always appreciate your content. Well, thanks, man. I said it earlier in the video, and I really, really mean this. I appreciate you guys being here. Even those of you that hate my guts, even those of you that name call me and make fun of me and everything else, I'm still glad you're here. And so I'm glad you're here. 38M commenting on his last truck that his wife couldn't figure out how to drive it. I don't know about that. Let's talk tomorrow about your truck. I want to know more about it. All right. Frank says, I believe you're supposed to keep a copy of your contract in your truck too. Yeah, I believe so too. That's what I was always taught. And most companies I leased with, you kept it in your permit book so you'd have it if DOT wanted to see it. I don't know if they'll accept a digital copy or not. That's a great question. I need to get a DOT guy on and ask them. And it probably varies from state to state, but a lot of your permits now, they'll accept a digital copy. And but I have a hard copy, and I forget how many pages it is, 50 something, or I think it's like 62 or 64 pages. But I actually have a hard copy in my truck, and I refer to it often. I've read it about 5 times. Guys ask me questions all the time that I don't remember, and I'll go back and read it and answer their questions. Or sometimes I'll look through it, and every time I've read it, I've learned something that I didn't catch the first time I was there. It's in plain English, so it's not like it's super hard to understand, but you do have to take the time to read it. Kurt says, I like your podcast and videos better than Mother Trucker. I appreciate that. He's definitely got a huge following. And the deal about him, sometimes I feel like some of his videos are clickbait. I'm sure that some of my videos people feel are clickbait too, but I think his heart's in the right place. I think he wants to help truck drivers, and he's definitely got a very successful business, and he's a really good interviewer. When if you go back and watch his video where he's with the CEO of Knight and Swift, he does a really good interview. It looks like he's a pretty decent basketball player too, but I don't know him personally. I've sent him a few emails in the past when we had some disagreements about a company I was working for that he trashed, but he's definitely that's a big compliment to even be compared to somebody like that, because he's definitely accomplished a lot in the YouTube world. Samantha says she'll be triple reading mine hopefully in just a couple of days. Yeah, when I called Michelle, when she emailed me the contract, I said, it's going to take me a little bit. I'm going to read this thing before I sign it. And she was kind of surprised. She's like, good, I wished everybody would. And I know it's time consuming, and you're in the mindset, hey, I've got to run, I've got to make miles. But If you'll just take a few minutes and read that contract and call the office or call me if you've got any questions, make sure you thoroughly understand it, because it's going to make a big difference later down the line when you're wondering who pays for what. Like I've had guys say, do we get reimbursed for scale tickets? And the answer is maybe. It depends on the circumstances. And it lists in there the circumstances that they reimburse for scale tickets. Dirty Diesel. I'm not at Swift, but I keep a copy of my contract as well as my lease agreement with my paperwork in the truck. Yeah, we was talking about that, Dirty. Isn't that a DOT requirement? I think you have to have a copy, regardless of company. And so I would hope everybody has a copy. Even if it's not a DOT requirement, I would hope you had one, just so that if you had a question about pay or about how things work, you'd have something to refer to. This is another good question. I'm glad it got brought up, actually. That's why I like doing these lives. Gary Cook says, does Swift require hazmat? No, and they will pay for it if you want to get it, but I don't really recommend it. Here's why. Less than 3% of Swift loads are hazmat, and so you'll probably never use it even if you get it. And the way they pay, it's not additional mileage for hazmat. It's per trip. And my contract says it's $35 per trip. So, and Michelle told me she thought they had increased it to $50. And so you're talking about something you might get, once or twice a year if you were lucky. And so you're looking at, less than $100 a year you'd probably make, or right at $100. And it's more trouble than it's worth, in my opinion. But definitely if you have your hazmat, that's good. You just probably won't use it a lot here. And let's see what else we got going on here. Hey, Trucker's Coach joined us. He says no, Gary. So he gave you the short answer. I gave you the long-winded answer. And then him and Coach are talking for a second. We'll skip past that. We got another troll that needs to go. All right, let's see who's next here. Yeah, Dirty Diesel says he believes it's a DOT requirement, and I do too. I think I agree. I think so too. Let's ask Trucker's Coach, because I'm sure he knows. Trucker's Coach, is it a DOT requirement to have your contract in your truck? It's a general consensus here that you do have to have a copy. I think even if it's not a requirement, that you should have a copy, but I'm sure you can clarify that for us. Okay, here's another question. Patrick Staten. How long have you been there? Are you making good money? So I started here June the 6th. That's what, 7.5 months. And up until the last 2 weeks, I've done very, very well. The last 2 weeks, I got stuck out in California when they had all that bad weather. And so I didn't do too hot that week. And then this week, the jury's still out. We'll see. I had to come home for a doctor's appointment, which is not Swift's fault. But yeah, I'm extremely happy here. I've said in multiple videos that several times I'll find myself driving the truck and I'll tell myself, I can't believe I've got 25 years experience and that I'm driving for Swift in a Freightliner, and I like it because, for a long time I said, no way will I drive a Freightliner. And here I am in a Freightliner, and at Swift Transportation, there's videos of me bad-mouthing mega carriers. But here I am having the time of my life and loving working here. Do I ever have bad days? Absolutely. Do I ever get frustrated with the company? Absolutely. But fortunately, to this point, we've been able to work things out behind the scenes and come to something that both sides could live with. And honestly, in this market environment, I'm really glad to be where I'm at. Let's see who's next. I haven't used it in over 3 years, but I have a tanker endorsement on mine. Yeah, you know, the funny thing about that, those plastic containers with like metal cages around them, I can't think of what they're called right now, but those loads, you have to have a tanker endorsement even if you don't pull a tanker. I've never pulled a tanker professionally for money, but I've had to have that tanker endorsement for loads that I've pulled in the past. And so it's good to get all those endorsements you can, doubles, triples, even hazmat, because you never know when you might need it or might use it. Okay, Coach, come into the deal. Coach says, it is a requirement to have a contract copy. Also a requirement to have your company you're leased to along with your DOT. Exactly, yeah. So Coach just confirmed what we all thought. And yeah, because I know Swift didn't print a copy for me, but I made sure I was staying at a hotel. I went to the hotel and printed my copy there because you need to have, I think I did that. I may have printed it at home or I may have had my printer on the truck, but I knew that I needed to get one quickly. And I'm sure I could have went into Michelle, or not Michelle's office. I'm sure I could have went into the Dallas terminal where I picked up my truck and got a copy if I would have needed to, but I took care of it on my own. But as I said, even if it weren't a law, even if that law went away tomorrow, you guys still need to have one. You need to know where stuff is. What's in Schedule C? What's in Schedule D? So when you're at a crossroads and trying to figure out a section, you know right where to go in your contract to get that information. All right, folks, we're at 1 hour and 2 minutes, and the views tonight have been pretty steady across the board. I appreciate all of you guys sticking with me through the deal. We are going to wrap it up pretty soon, but if we got a couple more questions here, we'll take them before we go. You guys know I won't leave you high and dry. I'll stay as long as we have good questions coming. Yeah, Samantha agrees with me that having a copy is a good idea. All right, here's another question I get a lot. I am going to take this one. And boy, Patrick answered a lot of my questions. Let's see here. How long do I stay out? Really, it depends on, I go home whenever I need to, and I stay as long as I would need to. I realize that sounds like a smart answer. I've been home as recently as 6 days after leaving the house, and I've stayed out, 4 or 5 weeks. It really depends. Sometimes there's doctor's appointments or things going on with the family I need to attend, and so I come back for those things. But I'm also not one of these guys that stays home all the time either. I do get out here and work. But you can tell by my videos that I do go home regularly, but I also get out here and work with you guys. And that's an important thing to remind you guys. Doing these lives, I'm now doing 3 lives a week, but I'm a truck driver just like you. Occasionally I might have to cancel on you at the last minute if a delivery runs long or if the signal's not good enough to do it or things like that. So you guys be patient with me. And I'm going to have guests on the show, and they're going to cancel on me from time to time. But it's not going to deter us. We'll still keep going whether we got a guest here or not. And so let's see what we got here. It's an automatic. You have been around a lot. I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, there. And then he said totes. That's correct. It's called totes. And I've only pulled a couple of those tote loads, but that is it. Yeah, Coach said he made them print him a copy, and that's probably the best thing to do if you don't have your printer or you're in a bad signal area. 38M, yeah, I'm going to contact you tomorrow. I'm glad you're back. I've got a lot of questions for you now, and so I don't know what time works well for you tomorrow, but I'm definitely going to call you tomorrow if that's okay and ask you some additional questions. Let's see what else we got here. I appreciate the info. You need to make this a business. Well, it's kind of a business. I make a little money off of YouTube. people always ask, how does YouTube pay? And you're not going to get rich off YouTube income. I know some people have, but in a small niche like truck driving, you're not going to get rich. You are going to make a few $100s a month, and there's other opportunities to make money. I've done some advertisements and stuff on YouTube for different fuel cards and things like that. And YouTubers that sell shirts and ball caps and things like that. I'm not quite big enough to do those things like that. But the thing I've got that's even better than that, and this is the honest truth, is I've got loyal viewers that have stuck with me through good and bad, and that's been really supportive. I mean, my first live, several people contributed money to the channel. I've had a few people that's contributed through Venmo and Cash App and things like that. And I've got a lot of guys that defend me on other channels when I get criticized and things like that. So I really appreciate the loyalty that I've experienced here. And I can tell you the truth, better than any referral bonus, better than any YouTube money is when somebody walks up to you and says that your video helped them and it's made an improvement to their life. Here's another comment that I want to get to. He says Schneider does a lot of that. Yeah, and I'm thinking the last time I pulled totes, it was a Schneider load when I was running the load board. And let's see if we got anything else we're going to get to before we wind down tonight. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me through it tonight. And we've had a little bit of technical issues, but we're getting through it. Let's see. Samantha. She says she always catch the ends. Well, Samantha, I've got good news for you. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to be doing these at 5 p.m. Central Time. And then on Wednesdays, when I'm able to, I'm going to be joining the Truckers Coach TV at 7 p.m. And he said he may have to change the times on it. But as of now, that's what time that is going to take place. And so hopefully our schedules will align and you can join us. I look forward to hearing from you and your comments and perspective and things like that, because that's what we do. We share information. We all learn together. Let's see. There's local Nemo. Says that he's home every day hauling fuel and making bank. That's awesome. I actually had a job a few years ago delivering to grocery stores, and it was a pretty gravy job. I was home every other day, and he said that we did real good on it. At the time, we were having some health issues, and the health insurance was really expensive, and so I left that job for that, but they've let me know that the door is always open. If I ever wanted a local job, I could definitely go back to home every other day. But I really like seeing new places and going around and meeting you guys at the terminals and things like that. So I think I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing for a while, but I'm glad you found something you're happy with. 38M saying that he's on a Walmart load to Columbus. I'll tell you this, Walmart loads at Swift are not a bad deal because they're generally drop and hook at both ends. Sometimes they have a live load or a live unload, but for the most part, they're drop and hook. Yeah, I'll give you a call tomorrow. Hopefully I won't wake you up. 38M and his wife drive teams, so it's hard to know when to call them, and I'm always afraid I'm going to interrupt their sleep, but they're hilarious. They will make you laugh. Yeah, I may give you a call tonight. When I get off the phone, I've got to make a couple of quick calls, and then I'll try to give you a call if you're going to be up another 8 hours. I meant you have been driving a while. You said Freightliner. I meant, oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. It's getting harder and harder to find a manual. Most of my driving career, I've done straight 10s, what they'd call, or a super 10, or a 13, or an 18. My side hustle used to be that I used to work for a truck dealership here in Lubbock when I was in town, and I'd go out and pick up trucks around the country sometimes, and sometimes just here in West Texas, and bring them back to Lubbock to the truck dealership. And so I've driven all kinds of trucks. I joke that I can drive anything with a steering wheel. And, I was really, really resistant to automatics when they first come out. And now I don't have a preference. I'll drive either one. There's things I like about the automatic. There's things I like about the manual. And I'm okay in either one. Let's see. Still getting good comments, so we're going to keep this going. Swift told me they had one, said he was surprised they had one. Yeah, if you can find a manual at Swift, it's definitely the unicorn, and I would grab it up. If they would have offered me one, it would have been one I would have taken a look at an automatic. Hopefully I can catch more. Okay, I'm going to block this troll. He did a really nasty video about me earlier today. I'm not even going to respond to stupid comments. So we got Patrick I'm going to learn how to say your last name. Staten says 17 years myself. I'm the same way. Yeah, I even for a little while I worked for NFI, and they had some trucks that they called auto shift, and it still had a clutch, and you shifted through some of the gears, and it seemed like if I remember correctly, the last two gears it shifted by itself, and you could actually see the shifter stick move. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, trucks have come a long way. I don't know that I'm a big fan of all the beepers and buzzers and things like that. For example, my truck, if you don't have everything set just right, the horn will honk when you open the door. And I came from a time when you opened your door while you were backing up and hung your head out, and that's how you saw around the stacks. So it's taken some getting used to. Now I have to roll my window down and hang my head out sometimes to see where I'm going. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. Join me tomorrow night if I'm able to make it on Truckers Coach TV. And if not, for sure, I'll be on Thursday night at 5 Central, and I look forward to seeing y'all then when we'll do the In Case You Missed It show. And for 38M, well, wait, we got two more questions before we go. He says the Zonar is a learning curve. I guess we're going to go a little while longer. I'm sorry about that. I am wrapping this up soon, I promise. Yes, they use a Samsung tablet that they call Zonar for logging. It is removable. And there's also an app you can put on your phone that will do everything that the tablet does except logs. You have to do your logs on that tablet. And it connects to the dash because it's a DOT requirement that it has to be in a holder on your dash. And so Frank's asking another good question. And 38M asks about, it says it's a learning curve. It is, but I'm here if you need help. I'll help you with it. So if you're a company driver, you get 25 miles of personal conveyance and you have to have permission to use it. If you're an independent contractor or you own your truck, you have PC and you can use it as much as you want to. There's no mileage or hours restrictions. However, if you get caught violating it, safety can take it away from you. So know how to use personal conveyance and use it the legal and correct way. For example, today I drove from Fort Worth to Lubbock. I could have done personal conveyance. I was going home, but I knew I was going to be taking a 34-hour here. So rather than have to debate personal conveyance with DOT or with Swift, I just ran it on regular log hours. But I hope that answers everybody's questions. You guys, let's save a little for Thursday and for Wednesday on Coach's show. Y'all have a great night. Good night, Chili Dog. I'm glad you're here. I didn't see you earlier. I would have said hi to you. Y'all take care. Bye bye.